From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
And good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the Noon News. I'm Andrea Lutz. We do have a little bit of breaking news to share with you right off the top of this hour. This coming to you from Washington, D.C. We're going to show you a live look right now. That's a pedestrian bridge that has collapsed onto Interstate 295. Now, officials say it's injured several people, and as you can see, blocking the highway in both directions. The bridge collapsed at Kennewill Avenue and Polk Street, and agencies from both police and fire say that 4 people were transported to the hospital. No reports of anyone trapped, though, in that debris that you can see there. And this is a live look, so crews are still on scene there trying to stabilize that bridge and, of course, get it under control. Now, both DC Fire and EMS have shown pictures on social media of that mangled concrete metal sprawled against 6 lanes of highway, sitting on top of several vehicles. Of course, that's some breaking news to pass along to you at the top of the hour, and we'll have much more online for any other information that comes out of that. All right, let's turn to the fire watch now. The Robertson Draw Fire south of Red Lodge is now more than 50% contained. What a difference just a few days can make. That's according to officials saying on Sunday this fire was just 15% contained. An additional 100 firefighters were brought in to help knock all of those flames down. The Crooked Creek fire in the Pryor Mountains is still at 5,400 acres. Yesterday, fire crews worked on protecting structures, historical resources, and Dry Head Creek watershed. The cause of that fire is still unknown. And we do have one more fire to share with you. The Deep Creek fire near Townsend is now 90% contained. Some of more than 300 firefighters battling those flames will be able to leave soon. All evacuation restrictions have been lifted in the area, and at least 1 home was lost in that fire. Okay, well, we are going to turn it over to Miller Robson because, of course, he's tracking all of the fire conditions plus some other things that are happening across the state.
Well, you know, we could use some rain there, Andrea, and we do have some rain to talk about. You know, a big story on the eastern side of the state, another very hot day. Already starting to see some 90s out there. On the western side, though, look at this, Missoula, we're only at 67. We've got the rain, maybe a few rumbles of thunder as well. We've got 71 in Butte, 73 in Dillon. But on the flip side, 92 in Miles City right now, had a little bit of rain earlier, 93 in Glendive, and we've got some 80s down in northern Wyoming. We do have a marginal risk for severe weather for parts of the state today and tomorrow. We'll take a look at that and the possibility of record heat again. When's that going to hit? I'll let you know with the main forecast coming up here in just a bit. Andrea.
Good to know and good to get ready for that, Miller. Thank you. All right, cruising is set to officially relaunch in the United States when the Celebrity Edge departs from Fort Lauderdale, Florida this weekend. Ships are already sailing from foreign ports. Celebrity was one of the first U.S.-based cruise lines to launch from Europe with the departure of the Apex this past weekend from Athens, Greece. CBS News correspondent Wendy Gillette takes us on board.
It's just so beautiful here today.
Martha and Paul Perlman from the Philadelphia area are aboard Celebrity Apex on its inaugural cruise in the Greek islands.
It's so fabulous.
They're celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary.
Because
the pandemic canceled 3 cruises the couple had planned. On this one, all passengers provided proof of vaccination, underwent a medical screening, and got a COVID test. Paul's first.
It was a little weird. Sitting in front of people and having that in a big open space, but it was not a big deal.
The process flagged 2 guests with COVID-19 earlier this month on a Celebrity cruise ship out of St. Martin. They were moved into isolation.
The cases were handled exactly as per protocol, and that's why there was no further issues. We followed the protocols and we proved that the protocols work.
Masks are required on the Apex unless you're drinking or eating, because that's what Greece mandates. When the Edge launches out of Florida on Saturday, the rules will be different.
We follow the US CDC guidelines. For fully vaccinated passengers, it is not a requirement to wear masks.
This past Sunday, Royal Caribbean launched a test cruise from Miami with mostly employees aboard. The CDC says companies that conduct a successful test voyage do not have to require passengers be vaccinated.
Cheers.
Lindsay and William Keogh from the Boston area are comfortable with the rules aboard Apex.
I feel safe, relaxed. I've barely thought about COVID beyond this conversation since we've been on this ship.
That's exactly what they wanted as they celebrate their honeymoon, delayed since October because of the coronavirus. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, Mykonos, Greece.
The CDC's regulations for U.S. cruise ships leaving Florida are being downgraded to recommendations or guidelines. The change will happen next month after a judge sided with a lawsuit filed by the state of Florida challenging those rules. The uncertainty is over for the Marshall Mountain ski area in Missoula. It is staying in local ownership with Rick Wishcamper. The skis resort closed down in the early 2000s, but it's remained a popular destination for recreation. But then its longtime owners moved to sell to a doctor from Missouri. That sale fell apart. 2 weeks ago, Wishcamper submitted a backup offer, and this week the sale closed. He's hoping the city will help manage continued access. Well, you can forget lighting off fireworks this 4th of July if you are living in Yellowstone County. Commissioners officially adopted Stage 2 fire restrictions, which ban Independence Day staple for anyone without that permit. Officials suggest you attend one of the fireworks shows, either hosted by Metro Park or that show that happens every year in Laurel. In a post-pandemic normal, some challenges are arising. Many of us are just now starting to process what we've been through over the past year. Here's MTN's Phoenix O'Connor.
Over the course of the pandemic, many people were thrust into circumstances that range from tragic to unfamiliar, from isolation due to social distancing to distance learning, joblessness, and the hospitalization or loss of a close friend or family member to COVID-19. St. Peter's chaplain Kim Pepper says,
sense that, well, we're going to hunker down, we're going to flatten the curve, slow the spread, maybe learn a hobby, bake some bread, and we'll get through this. And then as it went on and on and on.
According to the DPHHS report, more than 12,000 Montanans lost their lives in 2020, including 1,100 from COVID-19. It was the first year on record that deaths in the state exceeded births. To protect our families, many moved from an office space to a home office or took on remote learning and found themselves as caregivers with expanded responsibility.
Took on additional roles of educating children, of caring for loved ones and family that weren't able to leave home, and then trying to keep everybody safe in the midst of a pandemic.
Social distancing meant they couldn't hold traditional remembrances for those we lost or traditional celebrations for accomplishments and milestones like graduation. Everyone handled that stress differently, and many still have been processing just how their lives have changed.
Even for people that didn't maybe feel like they were that affected by it, there was still kind of sometimes a sense of unease and feeling lost, but not being able to put their finger on it.
Some shared their thoughts with family and friends, while others really kept their grief inside.
It's called instrumental style. So that's processed more in the thought realm. So people who are have that pattern of grief aren't, they'll talk about their feelings, but they're not going to. They're going to do that in safe ways that feel comfortable.
Pepper adds that it's important to recognize what you have gone through,
to grieve and to be kind to yourself and patient with yourself.
In Helena, Phoenix O'Connor, MTN News.
A little bit of advice we could all use. All right, we have more ahead on today's new news. Our Montana delegation is coming across the aisle to work with each other for a common goal, the use of public lands. We're going to tell you about the Lincoln Prosperity Project. But first, Miller is back up with a look at that statewide weather forecast.